The brand new iPhone 12 is out, and this video is about who needs to upgrade to a new iPhone 12 and who doesn't, and how I personally feel Apple tries to overprice its products by calling technology which has existed for a few years now new and innovative. So I've come this morning to go do a few laps in the lake, and then we will probably go to the Apple store. I'll check with them first if they've got the new models out and look at them. But in the meantime, we'll talk about what Apple thinks is their new innovation and whether it's actually new or not, or whether or not you need to upgrade your phone. I'm not an Apple fan. I do own Apple product. The phone you're watching this video from is an iPhone XS Max, and that is why I probably will be upgrading to an iPhone 12 Pro or Max. But you can see my headphones are not AirPods Pro because I think this does a better job than AirPods Pro or Earphones Pro or whatever they're called these days. Again, my wireless speaker is not a HomePod, it is a Bose speaker as well. However, my laptop is a MacBook Pro because I've integrated my workflow in Final Cut, and that works very well in MacBook only. And my iPad has been an iPad Pro up till now. But now the problem for me is going to be, if I change one thing, let's say I switch to a Samsung S20 Ultra, which I think is a very decent phone, the connectivity and my ecosystem is not going to support it very well. So I'll be in a bit of a trouble. So a lot of pro users, I don't call myself a pro, but a lot of pro users, once they have an integrated workflow, they cannot afford to change just one product, so they have to shift the entire ecosystem, and I think Apple kind of exploits that. Secondly, I'm a big critic of Apple because I personally feel that they don't play fair. So calling 5G an innovation when 5G has been there for 2 years, calling wireless charging an innovation, calling MagSafe a new product, lying to your customers, I also think that they try and dominate the market by not allowing their competitors such as Samsung or Huawei to compete actually. So we all know Tim Cook had very close relationship with the current president of United States of America, who has a lot of corruption and tax evasion allegations against him. And ultimately, the same president ended up banning Huawei, who was the 5G dominator in America. And all of a sudden, the same year is when Apple comes out with their first 5G product. Coincidence? I don't think so. There's a lot of YouTube influencers. I'm not going to call them product reviewers because, let's be fair, they're not product reviewers. Apple kind of incentivizes them to talk BS about Samsung, Huawei, and other products. And a lot of them will talk about, camera quality, the speed, Actually, I've noticed all of this technology, like 120 Hz, is available in other smartphones. And Apple's going to probably get it next year, and then all of a sudden it will become a big thing. But right now, because Apple's not doing it, a lot of people are not even that excited about it. And because YouTube or other platforms are dominated by influencers rather than actual product reviewers, a lot of technology naive people will just fall prey to Apple's marketing schemes and go for Apple products. Myself and a lot of you guys will end up buying it because either we're hooked onto Apple products, in my case, or we have watched a few YouTube videos which suggest that iPhone is the only best phone in the whole world, which I don't think it is. Anyways, I was gonna do my last lap. Weather has changed within half an hour. I do not want it to rain, so I'm gonna carry on and then finish this video later on. Alright, so I'm back. I'm going to continue with what features were mentioned in the Apple event. So first and foremost feature they boasted about was 5G, and to be very honest, 5G is not even here yet. and if it's not even here in UK and USA, it's probably going to take its time to get to third world countries like India, Pakistan. China is obviously way ahead in 5G, but for political and economic and maybe financial gains, Huawei did not get to do much business in Europe and America, which would have meant better 5G capabilities in these countries. It will get there, but it's not going to get there in the next 2 to 3 years. So if you're thinking of buying the new iPhone just because it's got 5G, I don't think that's a reasonable option. And I think Apple has missed the boat on that because they cannot cash out on it. Because a lot of other phones who are in the market right now, who are much better than Apple, have 5G. Another thing they boasted about was their 5G speed is much higher than any other 5G and goes up to 4 gigabytes per second, which I think is a bit lame, and there were a few catches there. They said we tested it in ideal conditions, and the ideal conditions they mentioned was an anechoic chamber. And how many of you are going to use your phone in an anechoic chamber, or how many of you actually own an anechoic chamber? So I think it's a whole lot of rubbish. 5G speed was tested out by MKBHD on his channel, and if you look at his channel, you'll find out a millimeter wave 5G is, you get up to 1 gigabyte per second, and that is if you are stood very close to the tower. As soon as you start moving away, the speeds are not great. The next thing they went on about was their new chip, which is the A14 Bionic Chip. Now, mind it that the A14 Bionic Chip is the latest Apple chip. It's got CPUs and GPUs, and it's got the neural sensor, neural engine, whatever it's called, and the image processing system, IPS. Now, all of that is, I think, fancy words to confuse the public and customers and make them think that there's something new in there. It will be faster. It's a newer chip, so it has to be faster. I'd probably say there are much faster chips out there, but whether or not they've been integrated into a single device which works very good with the rest of the integrations, it's probably not the case. So Apple, yes, I give you that. You do integrate your chips very well with your operating systems and your devices, but I think there are much faster chips out there. Now, this chip is gonna work much better with the computational photography that you get on the iPhone this time, and you've been getting it for ages. And computational photography basically means that the pictures you take are actually not the pictures you're getting on your phone. Your phone is processing them, doing some AI related image modifications, and then giving you the final picture, which looks something like what you would have looked like, but it just produces a better image. And we'll come to computational photography in a minute when we talk about the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max, the main selling feature for which is a Pro Gate camera setup, which we will come to in a second. The next feature they mentioned was the ceramic shield, or let's call it what it is. It's a piece of glass which resists breaking, and how much it's going to resist breaking is going to be when we get the device in our hands and we drop it from different heights and see if it actually breaks or not. And there is a very good channel on YouTube which actually does that. I'm not going to waste my phone on that, and I, because I'm not sponsored by Apple or any other company, don't have the money to do that as well. But it looks like it's going to be tougher, it's going to be stronger and difficult to break than the previous Apple Glass, which is a treat, because if you know iPhones, you know their glasses break very easily and they get scratched and cracked very easily. iPhone has now introduced OLED across all of their phone lines, and that is good. It's a welcome introduction, but mind it, Samsung's been using AMOLED display for about 5 or 6 years now. I'm not entirely sure, but it's way ahead of Apple in introducing new technology to its phones. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Yes, you've got OLED display, but I don't really care about it. If you introduce something about 3 years down the line and say it's a new innovation, then I'm not going to buy that. I'm very sorry. marked as an innovation was the charging for the iPhone. Now they've introduced this new MagSafe charger, which basically is a set of magnets in the back of the phone which can align the phone to the magnets like it does on the current Apple Watch, which I'm wearing right now. So this is a Series 4. Now that we've got Series 6 out, I probably will be looking into that as well. However,
I'm afraid I can't do that for you.
Apple Watch. However, what I would probably be a bit worried about is scratching the back of my phone by clapping on stuff to it repeatedly, and I think more than ever before I'm gonna need a case for my iPhone just to keep the backside of the phone protected from scratches. Obviously, until I get the phone in my hand, I won't be able to say, you know, if the material is scratch resistant or not. And now let's talk about the main elephant in the room, which is the camera system. Because most people who use iPhone, they're really impressed with the camera system. Now, a bit more about computational photography here. Computational photography is you take an image, it goes through an image processor, it uses enhancements. So if you look at the iPhone photo, it's going to be much more smoother than any other photos, and it started doing that in about iPhone 10. And basically what you get is a processed image. It's not an actual file. So over here, Apple is much different from pro grade cameras, which keep the original file. Obviously you can edit it afterwards, but you still have the original file and what actually it looked like, what actually the scene was, and then you can edit it more if you have to or want to. So I'm looking at some specs. So in iPhone 12 you get a camera with a wider aperture. It's 1.6 from, I think it was previously 2 point something. You get an ultra wide camera which is pretty much the same. So I don't think in the iPhone 12 only the camera is going to be much different from the iPhone 11. Now in iPhone 12 Pro they've brought this new deep fusion technology across all of their cameras, which is good. Again, that's the computational photography we were talking about. The camera is going to have bigger aperture and a better low light performance in the iPhone Pro. Its video is going to be much better because it's 10-bit 4K 60 FPS Dolby video. And if you didn't get any of that, then you probably don't want an iPhone Pro, because if these terms don't mean anything to you, you probably are not a pro video shooter. Also, the Pro Max has the sensor shift technology, where you get image stabilization because the sensor moves rather than the lenses being optically stabilized. It's got bigger pixels in the sensor, and it's got a bigger 2.5x telephoto lens. Other things it boasts about is the LiDAR, which is basically laser, which is going to be used for low light autofocus, and it's also going to be used for virtual reality and AI technology. Finally, I'll talk about what lineup we're gonna have. We've got an iPhone 12 mini. Then we've got an iPhone 12. They both have the same specs, but you've got a smaller size factor phone. And I don't know why you would produce a smaller size factor phone when currently in this day and age everyone wants a bigger screen, because you need a bigger keyboard, you need a bigger screen so you can watch a video, and if you are boasting about all of those cameras and videos and all that, then you probably need a bigger screen so that you can utilize all of that infrastructure for your productivity. So I currently don't get the point of iPhone mini, other than it is a new price point, so maybe it will attract customers who cannot afford an iPhone 12, but it's only $100 difference. So then there's jump to iPhone 12 Pro, which is basically gonna pack up some Pro features, but again there is some differences between Pro and Pro Max. So Pro Max has a better camera system. Why would you advertise two different phones as Pro camera system and then make one a tiny bit better for $100? Again, I think that is all to do with Apple's marketing policy. It's trying to divide all of these phones, so you either go for the most higher end version, get all the features, or you have to make tiny compromises here and there. The price point is, even though Apple says we've kept the price the same, but mind it, the box doesn't come with a charger anymore. It also doesn't come with headphones. So if you were to go online and get a MagSafe charger, it's going to cost you another £40 or dollars. And if you go and buy a pair of wireless headphones, it's probably going to cost you about $150 to $200 for a decent quality headphones. Now, yeah, they'll probably not increase the price, but they're giving you less for the same price, so that is actually an increase in price. What Apple has not introduced is a USB-C port, which has been even on iPad Pro for about 2 years now, and it would have been very easy to introduce. It was an innovation which, again, other phones have done for years and years, and now Apple should have caught up with that. So I don't know what's happening in the Apple headquarters, but something to think about, guys. Things I was looking forward to was some other sort of biometric ID. For example, fingerprint, on-screen fingerprint detection, which other phones have been doing for ages, but iPhone for some reason has lost it, because in current day and age where you're wearing masks everywhere, you actually do not rely on face recognition anymore. Every time I go and buy a Costa or I go and pay for my fuel, I have to take my mask down so it can do my face detection. I have to put my password in. That is, for me, that is a useless feature. I would have much preferred a fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone compared to a MagSafe. I am not saying MagSafe is bad, but I would personally feel MagSafe doesn't add as much to my everyday life compared to a fingerprint sensor. Other things we are missing, which I don't really care about, is a 120Hz display or ultra fast display, which is there in gaming phones quite a lot. And also, when you bring out your launch event and talk so much about gaming, but do not bring a pro gaming feature to your phone, which has been there in other phones for a few years now, again, I'd say Apple has to do a lot of catch up. Do you really need to upgrade? I would say for people who are pro video, pro picture shooters, yes, I think it's a good upgrade. Your camera systems are going to be better. You've got bigger apertures, especially if you can notice your aperture sizes, your shutter speeds, if all of that is something you actually look into and matters to your workflow. If you've never heard of an aperture, and if you don't even know what shutter speed is, then an iPhone 11 is probably your better bet. And Apple is still going to bring out iPhone 11 at $599, so that's £100 cheaper for a bigger size phone with almost similar specs to an iPhone 12 mini. How about that? You can still get an iPhone XR, which is again not a very bad phone if you're only buying an iPhone just for the sake of some basic features, some basic pictures. You can take a video and use it as a phone. iPhone XR is a decent size phone. It's going to cost you about $500, and then you also got iPhone SE, which is about the size of an iPhone 12 mini, and that costs you about $400. So the whole lineup of phones will be displayed in the screen. Bottom line is, I don't think personally Apple has any innovation in their pockets. I think they've still got a lot of catching up to do with technology. Yeah, it might be fast, but 5G for me is useless, at least for another year or two. And by that time, the next iPhone will be out, and you could probably not upgrade now, but upgrade a year later, where you have an iPhone with a better 5G, a better Touch ID or fingerprint sensor, and a better display. So that is all from me. Again, I would say I am not sponsored by any of the major brands. I am giving you an honest critique. As far as I go, because I use my phone for a lot of video and photography, I will be buying the iPhone Pro, 12 Pro. Whether I go for the Max version or not will depend on how it fits in my hand. Whether or not you need to upgrade or not will depend on what you actually use your phone for. And when it comes to pro videography and pro camera, I do not think an iPhone or any phone for that matter, will be able to replace a pro grade camera, which I'm now shooting my video in, and you can probably tell how much different it looks from the original video, which was shot on my iPhone XS Max Pro. See you again next time with hopefully a iPhone in my hand, and I will be unboxing that as well. And there's some other tech coming soon. Stay tuned to our channel. Please subscribe if you've not done so already, and we'll meet you next time. Bye.